Good evening to our ECISD live audience. My name is Scott Muri, and I'm the superintendent here in Ector County Independent School District. And I want to welcome you to tonight's show. We have an amazing group of principals that are joining us this evening to share their knowledge and wisdom and expertise about the opening of school and all of the opportunities that await the 34,000 students in ECISD. I want to take just a minute to introduce these folks tonight. They represent elementary, middle, and high schools throughout Ector County. Our first principal is Julie Marshall. She is the principal of Dowling Elementary. So Julie, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Good. We're glad to have you tonight. And moving to the middle school ranks, actually one of our newest principals in ECISD, we welcome Marika Austin. She is the proud new principal of Bonham Middle School. So Marika, it's a pleasure to have you with us this evening, and welcome officially to ECISD.
Good evening, and thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with the family tonight. So thank you, Dr. Mary, for this opportunity.
No, you're very welcome, and thanks you for joining us. And finally, representing our high schools tonight, Gerardo Ramirez. He is the principal of New Technology High School in Ector County. So Gerardo, it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Mary. It's my honor, and hello, everyone.
All right, good. So you'll hear from those folks in just a minute. We look forward to engaging in our conversation. I want to walk through a quick agenda with you tonight, let you know kind of what we're going to do. I'm going to start with really hitting some of the primary questions that we've heard over the last week, and many of those are devoted to the experience of our children. What does a typical day look like for the 34,000 kids in ECISD? What are their choices, their options, and what is the teaching and learning experience going to look like? We've had lots of questions over the last week, but that one seems to have risen to the surface. So I want to walk through some slides with you in just a minute and share that particular presentation with you, and then talk a little bit about the day in the life. So I'm going to bring up a screen right now, and we'll switch to that. All right. So some of you will recognize these slides. We went through a pretty healthy presentation last week, but there are a few things that I wanted to emphasize this week as we talk about what school is going to be like for our students in the upcoming school year. First of all, there were some vocabulary words that we threw out to you last week. One of those was synchronous instruction. One of the experiences that many of our kids will have next year is a concept called synchronous instruction. Simply put, it is what you and I are experiencing right now, an opportunity for our students to experience their teacher in a live, real format. A student could be sitting at their computer and they're watching their teacher on a video or engaging in dialogue with their teacher. It could also happen on a telephone as a student and a teacher are engaging in a conversation. And one of the opportunities next year in our remote learning experience, as well as our A-Day, B-Day schedule for our kids in pre-K through 12th grade, is this synchronous environment. Again, that is a face-to-face or ear-to-ear, in some cases, experience live with a teacher. The other side of that is asynchronous. And you see in this image a student using a piece of software while on a computer. Some of our students next year will also have asynchronous experiences. And that simply is when a student is not directly engaged with a teacher, but they're doing work on their own. Maybe they're using a software application, or they're completing a writing assignment, or they're somehow engaged with another body of work. And so synchronous and asynchronous learning will be two aspects that our kids will experience next year in ECISD. Typical school day at the elementary level. Our families in pre-K through 8th grade, you've got three choices to make. And in fact, the survey window for each of you to make a choice for your children, that survey is open now. And the three options at the elementary level, one of them is 5 days on campus. So you could send your child to school every day of the week, 5 days a week for instruction. Your second option is every day is at home, a remote learning or virtual option. So every single day, your child would be at home in your house, and we would provide our teachers through the virtual realm. The third option that our elementary parents have is a little bit of both. It is a hybrid model. So one day at school and another day at home, and that is a choice that our families have as well. Again, that opportunity to choose is available now. That survey was posted yesterday. It'll close on Sunday evening. Every family in ECISD must make a choice for their children, and that is one choice per child. We've already heard that some of our families we'll send maybe 1 or 2 kids to school while other children stay at home as you're talking to your children and figuring out what is the best solution for them. You can see a couple other bullets at the elementary level. Many of these will occur middle school and high school as well. We will provide free of charge for all of our students breakfast and lunch next year, elementary, middle, and high school. We're providing devices for kids. So if your child does not have a computing device, we'll be providing iPads at many of our elementary schools and then Chromebooks at our middle schools and high schools, or some combination thereof. Some of our kids, your child may have a device, and certainly if your child wants to use their own device, they're welcome to do that. But if your child wants to use a school-issued device or may not have one, we will be providing those next year for our kids. We're excited about that opportunity. Typical day in our elementary, you can kind of see we don't always have periods at the elementary level, but we broke this down to help our parents better understand what a typical day might look like. Kid may start the day on Monday in mathematics. You'll notice that the math block is a little bit longer. The reason for that is the research says that our students, particularly at the elementary level, may have lost more mathematics instruction than any other content area over the last several months. And so we want to make sure that students have more time with mathematics during the upcoming school year. So you'll see that reflected in their daily schedules. And then on to reading, science, social studies, etc. So kids will have a full day, and then you'll see on Tuesday, that is a B day. That could occur for some of our kids at home. For other elementary kids that your parents, you may choose 5 days a week. You're able to have your children at school, and their B day would take place in a school facility. So that is a typical school day for elementary. Kind of moving on to middle. Parents, you have the same 3 options, either completely virtual or 5 days a week face-to-face, or that hybrid model in which 1 day at school and another day at home. Again, those choices are yours. You'll notice that, once again, no lockers or storage. We're going to try to keep our kids as self-contained as we possibly can next year. And then devices, our middle school students have access to devices, and then lunches, of course, breakfast and lunch provided for all of our kids next year. Typical middle school schedule looks very similar to what we saw with our elementary students. Again, a Monday or an A day, the child has their 7 periods, their core academics, electives, etc. Their B day could be either a virtual day at home or a virtual day at school. It really depends on the choice that you make as a parent. And then back to their A day, which is face-to-face with teachers. So typical middle school schedule. And then on to high school. Our high school students next year have 2 options. Option 1 is a completely virtual experience. So 5 days a week, you are experiencing your learning at home. And then your other option is to have a hybrid. So 1 day at school and the second day 2 at home, and rotating back and forth between that A day and B day schedule. Again, the same kind of bullet points for high school kids. Will be providing technology devices, providing meals for students at the high school level. And then again, you can see a typical schedule for high school kids kind of broken down and what that will look like. A day schedule face-to-face with teachers, a B day schedule, either synchronous or asynchronous experiences for kids in the home environment. And then phasing, we've talked a little bit about this. Because of the current medical conditions in our own community, we have our cases, we have a large number of active COVID cases in our community. We do have community spread. The COVID-19 virus is spreading throughout our community. And the numbers are still pretty high right now, and we're concerned about that. And so because of that concern, we're implementing a phase-in process. We will start with a few groups of students, and then over a period of time, move in. I'm going to go ahead and lay the foundation for this right up front. You can see right now that phase 1 starts on August 12th, and that is true. School for every child in ECISD begins on Wednesday, August the 12th. Most of our students will be in a virtual environment, but we will have some students reporting to school on August 12th. You can see on your screen now those particular students, kids that do not have wireless access in their homes or access to broadband technology. Those students will be allowed to come to school on that first day on August 12th. Our 3-year-olds, students who receive special services, those are the groups of kids that we will be serving on that first phase 1 period. Then you see phase 2. Right now it says it starts on Tuesday, August 18th. I'll go ahead and tell you right now that date may change. And the reason for that is because of the current medical situation in our community. While phase 1 is going to begin on August 12th, phase 2 might be delayed. And again, the reason for that is because of the current medical situation in our own community. Phase 2 says that we're bringing more kids back to our school, and we may not be ready to do that on the 18th. So I'm just alerting all of you, in the coming days, we may be adjusting the August 18th day, specifically based upon what's happening in our own community. But phase 2 will still consist of all of the groups of students that you see pictured on the right side of your screen. And then phase 3, we will add another group of students. Again, that date, August 24th, could be adjusted. So just an awareness. We all need to pay attention to that potential date change. But the groups of students that you see on the right will remain the same. So once phase 3 starts, those groups of kids, if they choose, will be allowed to attend school at that point. And finally, phase 4, again, scheduled for August 28th, but again, that date could also change. And we would then bring our final group of students to have that face-to-face experience. All right, so that's one group of slides. And I want to bring up one more piece with you right now that I think may help some understand what's happening. So we've asked our leaders, our teachers, principals, counselors, and others to put together what we're calling a day in the life ofs. And DILO for short. In education, we love acronyms, so these are DILOs. And I want to share with you our 4th grade day in the life of tonight. But we are designing these for a typical day in the life of a middle school student, a high school student, a day in the life of a parent, a day in the life of a teacher. We are trying to look at the upcoming school year through multiple lenses, and we want to be able to paint this really clear picture for you. The 4th grade is now posted on the ECISD website, so you can have a chance to see that. I want to take just a minute to kind of roll you through this. You can see it starts out before school. I complete my health self-screening, so all of our kids each day, along with their parent, must complete a safety screening or a health screening each day. Talks about what the arrival, this particular child is driven to school by their parent. So they're talking about their experience in that car ride or drop off. You can see that the child puts on their face mask. Again, all of our 4th graders are required to wear face masks as soon as they enter the building and throughout their school day. Talks about our desktops are clean, so all their areas have been cleaned and sanitized, ready for that student to begin the day. Talks about breakfast, what happens. Then the day moves to homeroom. What happens? I walk into my classroom, I take my seat, put my binder and water bottle away. Again, we're going to try to keep our kids as self-contained as we can. They're all going to need that water bottle so that our water fountains will not be utilized next year. Because again, that presents a safety concern. So kids will have to have water with them throughout the day. Our cafeteria will actually provide a bottle of water for every child every day next year. But some kids may want to carry with them an additional water bottle. And so we encourage our kids to do that next year. You can see a typical homeroom experience. Then this child moves on to mathematics. They begin with a short warm-up activity, work on some independent or practice work that we'd call that asynchronous work. Just enough time to log into Imagine Math. So this child is going to use a computer application during this time, and then math will be over for them. And of course, as they prepare some hand sanitization, you can see we will be sanitizing our hands a lot next year. It will occur throughout the day. So this child is going to do that right after their math experience. They move on to reading. But this goes on. You can see that they move on to the next class, a writing experience, science and social studies, what that is like for kids, recess, what the lunch period is like, that opportunity, and then it continues through specials, and then dismissal. This is for a 4th grader. This is currently posted on the ECISD website. We're developing these for middle school students, high school students, teachers, counselors, parents, all different lenses. We want to be able to look at the typical school day, and we hope it'll give you a better picture of what the day will look like for kids next year. So I, again, thank the teachers and principals and others that have spent a lot of time putting this body of work together for all of you, and we're really happy to be able to share that with you. All righty. As I said earlier, we have an amazing group of principals with us tonight, and I can already tell that based upon what's happening in the chat that there are a lot of questions. And so I'm going to talk to our principals for just a few minutes, kind of give them a quick question, just a warm up, and then we'll dive into the questions that you're asking. So Julie, let's start with you. You're a principal you're a seasoned veteran principal, but yet you're taking on a new school. What's going on in your mind right now as you're starting a new school in this really interesting world that we're living in? What are you thinking about as a principal right now?
The first thing on my mind is keeping all of our staff and our students safe. How are we going to do that daily, planning for every minute of the day to keep them safe? And the second thing is just the registration process, making sure that parents are registering, that we have current phone numbers and emails. So that's really important. If you haven't registered your children, we need you to do that ASAP. And then making sure that you're checking your email for that survey that the district has sent out so that we know how to plan specifically for your child.
Good. So thank you. Lots going on. Marika, there are a lot of new things in your life as well. You're brand new to the city of Odessa, brand new to ECISD, and a brand new school, Bonham Middle School. So what are you thinking about these days as the principal there?
I have a lot of the same sentiments as Julie Marshall. You know, it's really a top priority for our students and our staff to be safe and to really make sure that we get their questions answered. A lot of our teachers have questions and our parents have questions. And so we want to make sure that we take time to address the things that are concerning to them. But most importantly, I'm very, very excited. It's been such a warm welcome to move here to West Texas, and I'm very excited to get the school year started so that we can make sure that our students and our staff are taken care of.
Good. Well, we appreciate you. And again, welcome to ECISD.
Thank you.
So Gerardo, you've had quite a bit of experience at New Tech. You know, again, at New Technology High School, innovation is just an unusual environment for students and staff members anyway, because of the innovative opportunities that kids have in that environment. But what's on your mind as a principal starting this new school year?
Sure, I would say, Dr. Muri, that several words come to mind. I would say safety, of course, at the forefront, as my colleagues had mentioned. And then the second word is flexibility. Teaching and learning is going to look very different. It's really unlike anything that we've ever experienced. So with that comes excitement. You know, there's a lot of things that will help us grow and learn. And I know as a professional, these times have really built me up as a leader.
Yeah, good. Challenging all of us, but also our very best come out. And in fact, that's why the three of you are with us tonight. All right, let's jump into the audience questions. We're filled tonight, so let's jump. Julie, this first one's going to come to you, and it's about tutorials. You know, sometimes we provide tutorials for kids, whether that's a teacher, either before or after school providing that, or maybe mentors, et cetera, provide tutorials. So the question is, if students are in a remote learning environment, will we provide tutorials for them? Have we thought about that yet?
We certainly have thought about that. And yes, it will not be like the experience that many of you had in March when your kids went to remote learning. They will touch base either through synchronous lessons, live lessons 2 or 3 times a day with the teacher, or they will have their asynchronous work, but the teachers will have office hours. They will also be available by phone to answer questions from the students or their parents and to provide that one-on-one support that some of our scholars may need.
It is important, you know, that we as educators want to provide as much support as we can. In fact, and Julie, I'm not even sure if you're aware of this, but we have actually access to virtual tutors, and some of our kids have experienced that already, and then we'll have those experiences next year. So elementary, middle, and high school, all of you may have access to some virtual tutoring next year, experiencing some folks from all over the country that can provide some extra assistance. So good. It's nice that kids will have that additional layer of support. Julie, stay with you for this next one. I'm going to start the answer and then kind of give your perspective from an elementary principal. The question is about hybrid. And why isn't hybrid available for pre-K through second graders? And I will tell you that what the research is telling us, that in particularly our pre-K through second grade students, they in a remote environment struggled the most. Our youngest children, pre-K through second grade, need FaceTime with teachers as much as we can possibly provide. And so the primary reason that hybrid is not available for our pre-K through second grade is simply because they learn best in that face-to-face environment and struggle mightily in hybrid. Julie, could you add to that or any additional thoughts?
It's very important for that early reading and math foundation that they do have access to a face-to-face teacher as much as possible. Now, if you do choose to stay remote at home for your child, that will also work because they're going to be getting consistent videos uploaded from a teacher. If they were to do the hybrid model like our older students, their instruction from a certified teacher would only be every other day. And then on the B day, they would be working on their own to complete assignments. And our younger scholars are just not ready for that on their own learning opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of, they're just, and you think about a 5-year-old sitting in front of a machine for 4 hours. I'm not sure a 5-year-old could sit in front of a machine for 4 hours. No, so we don't want really any kid to have to do that, but much less a pre-K through second grader. Good. All righty. Let's look at the next one. Gerard, I'm going to pitch this one to you. And this is, we talked about the DILOs, the day in the life of, for the one we looked at tonight was for a 4th grader in school. This question is about what is life going to be like for a virtual student? So think about your high school students. What is a day in the life for a kid that chooses completely remote?
Definitely. Great question. So last spring, we experienced one type of learning. This fall, it's going to be a lot more structured in the sense that if you are a student, a learner, that's doing virtual learning, you're still going to have a schedule on your synchronized days. So every campus, the comprehensive high schools, the early college high schools, and also UTech Odessa in the middle schools, we're going to have a bell schedule, what would traditionally still be our first period times, second period times. So on the synchronized days, those are the times and moments the students are logged in and having that face-to-face interaction and instruction with their teachers.
Good. Yeah. So a whole lot of synchronous for our students in that world. Would you agree to that?
I would, definitely. And I think that's going to provide all of that structure that our students need. We mentioned the word support, and that's going to be at the forefront of what we're wanting to provide to our ECISD students this fall.
You know, last year in the spring, we depended on many of our parents to help really almost teach in some cases our students. And this year, I think a big transition that we'll experience this fall is our teachers are truly the teachers in that virtual environment. Are your teachers ready for that, Gerardo?
You know, they are. We've been touching base. We've been having group me conversations. They get plenty of emails, text messaging back and forth. Our staff actually met yesterday during their summer break, and we had a Google Meet to kind of go over some information, do Q&A. And so our teachers, a lot of them are going to be ready to rock and roll.
Good.
It's going to be a challenge. It'll take time, but we're going to get there.
Yeah. And it is a challenge for all of us. Every process and system that we've ever created has been undone and we've had to redo. But a lot of our teachers or principals and you all have done a significant amount of work to make the new year happen. Marika, coming to you with this one. So we think about how our kids are storing their stuff. You know, we've said kids won't be able to use lockers or storage bins. And what will that look like for a middle school kid that sometimes is a bit disorganized, as the case may be? Their minds are not always in their bodies, it appears sometimes at the middle school level. How will middle school kids keep up with all their stuff?
So all of our middle school students will have clear and mesh backpacks that they will use to keep up with their things and transport their items. One of the other ideas that several our teachers have been talking about is helping the students create digital digital journals. And so we do run Avid here on our campus. And so our Avid teachers, as well as some of our other core teachers, are looking into helping the students create digital journals so they don't have as many notebooks, as many binders, as many things to try to keep up with on a daily basis. Because in addition to their notebooks and tablets, they'll electronic. So we do believe that we'll be able to take some time to talk to our students about organization and helping them really understand on how to keep their things together in their backpack.
Good. And that's an important skill anyway at the middle school level, is to make sure that we help them with those organizational opportunities.
Absolutely.
Good. All righty. Stay with you, Marika, for this one. Think about so kids have core academics. What will lunch and those special, PE, what will those electives and lunch kind of look like for kids at the middle school level next year?
So I'll talk about lunch first. So we are going to be practicing social distancing on our campus, and so our students will be eating lunch in their classrooms with their desks spread out. They will have an opportunity to take off their masks, to eat their lunches. And we've talked about having other things to provide some protection, a layer of protection as they're eating. We've also built into our bell schedule an opportunity for students to have some social, emotional learning time, because we understand that it's important that students can fellowship, that they can, that we can build them up during this time. So we built that into our lunchtime so they'll eat as well as get some character building, some social, emotional learning during that time. As far as electives, again, we understand how important it is for students to have that, not only that academic, but that extracurricular experience. Yep. So students will still be able to participate in their arts, their bands, as well as their AVID classes, teen leadership, their technology classes. And they will also get to go to those classes and experience those remotely, as well as in the face-to-face setting. So we're excited about being able to meet those opportunities for students.
Good. Thank you. Hey, Julie Marshall, my child doesn't like school lunch, and I want to bring lunch to them every day. Can I do that next year?
No, you cannot, unfortunately. So that's an opportunity to teach your child responsibility, to make sure that you're checking the menu, finding out if they do like what's being served that day, and if not, packing their lunch and having them bring it at the time. So sometimes as parents, we want to rescue our kids when they forget something. We want to run it up to school. So use this year as a learning opportunity to help your kids learn some responsibility. Don't put that all on yourself as a parent. Even a 5-year-old can remember, have a list on the door. Do I have my backpack? Do I have my mask? Do I have my lunchbox? Put that back on your child, and I promise you, they will be just fine eating their lunch from home or the plate lunch from school.
Great guidance. Even a 5-year-old can look at a list and read it and follow it. May have to be a small list, but it can happen. Good. And a good elementary principal knows that. Clearly, you have 5-year-olds that you've seen the evidence of that. Somehow they might lose that by the time they get to middle school. So Marika, may you have to shore that skill up a little bit, but we can do it at 5. That's really great. Talk about the start and end times, Julie, for just a minute. When are your kids arriving at school? Do you know that yet? And leaving in buses and all of that start and end? Do you have that information?
We do know that. We know that buses will run multiple times for all schools in ECISD so that we can social distance on the buses. At my campus, we will receive our first bus at 7 a.m. So we have a plan in place. Where will those students go? Who will be supervising them? The most important thing in the case of arrival is that we want children to go directly to their class if possible, so that they're not exposed to more people than they have to be, and also so that we can keep that area clean. Regular students, elementary school starts at 7:40 this year and ends at 3:20. We are going to have multiple entry points, and that's going to be very different for parents. They're mostly used to pulling up to the front door through the carpool line, letting their kids out. You will get information from your campus. We're going to try to have students enter through multiple points, and then they will have hand sanitizer at the door from their teacher as they go in and get to their desk and have breakfast. One exciting thing that I'm really excited about is the district has purchased a dismissal program that is not only going to help us with social distancing as we dismiss, but also the safety and security of your children. It's going to help us make sure that every student gets in the right car, and that we have an app. We will push a button and we know exactly what time that child was loaded into the car. So parents, as soon as that is ready, you will get more information. It will cause dismissal to be longer than normal. So we ask that you're patient with us this year. The first couple of weeks, dismissal is crazy at every level of campus, but this will cause it to be a little bit longer. Be patient with us and keep in the back of your mind it's for the safety of your kids.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Part of that is why we're phasing, and we will start with small groups and then phase over time until we have more and more children in our schools, because the procedures that you just described are very different. The processes that we use will be different, and there may be some learning on our part. What we think may be effective on day one may turn out not to be, and so we may have to tweak and adjust as we go. Our goal is to be better every single day. So good advice. Gerardo, I'm coming to you with the next one, and this is about technology. So your new technology high school, how will kids, we've said that ECISD is going to provide devices for every student next year. How will you deliver those devices? How will kids get them?
Right, so particular to NTO, our processes are we're leading some virtual meetings with parents so they can answer or ask questions about our laptops, the do's and don'ts. It's something that we've commonly done at our campus. Our goal is to distribute all of our laptops, 9th grade through 12th grade, before the start of school. That way, every one of our students has a device accessible. And as Dr. Muri mentioned earlier, the goal is for every student to have a device, whether it's their own device or ECISD has devices that will be arriving for every single student. That way, every student has access to that one-to-one device.
Yeah, good. And that's every child, pre-K through 12th grade in ECISD will have a tool next year. And that pickup may look different at every school. But moms and dads, you will hear from your child's school as to what that is going to look like. The pickup starts on August 5th and lasts through August 11th. And again, that'll look different on each campus, so you'll get information campus by campus as to what that pickup. But the good news is that every child who needs one or wants one will have access to one next year. Stay with you, Gerardo. And this is, we're requiring all of our high school kids, so every student that you serve next year will be required to wear a mask. What if a child forgets their mask? What's the situation there?
Right, and it'll happen, and maybe they have their mask and it tears or it breaks, it gets lost. So actually our staff and our administrators will be ready to assist students at the door, and we're gonna have plenty of masks to allow students entry into the building. But great point, masks are required for our high school students, the way IDs are and so forth in the past, viewing it that way. But we're gonna make sure we have masks for our students.
Okay, good. And I don't know if you remember the number, but we've actually purchased 1.3 million masks. So we have a lot of masks on hand, as well as other PPE. I think, Julie, I heard you mention hand sanitizer. We have thousands of gallons of that on hand as well. So it'll be important.
So Dr. Muri, I'd like for them to think about the mask as a school supply.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Their devices. And so parents really view the mask as that requirement, that essential school supply.
Yeah. Marika, we know as educators that the relationship between a child and a teacher is critical. The research says that when a teacher and a student have a healthy relationship, student achievement actually increases. And so that's pretty important. When will a child at your school get to know their teacher, or when will they be able to meet their teacher for the first time?
So we are actually hosting Meet the Teacher. It will be a virtual event where our parents and our families will get to meet us in a virtual room and a virtual experience. And we will have a pretty nice event planned for our parents to be able to meet each of their teachers. Now, in addition to that, that's a planned event that's going to happen the very first part of September. However, in addition to that, we have it set up where our teachers are really going to be making contact with our students as well as with our families on a regular basis, even before September. And so in addition to that, every last one of our teachers have a conference period. And so they'll be available, and we're going to make sure that our teachers set up virtual hours as well, so that parents can actually log on and meet their teachers that way. So we have several opportunities for parents to meet the teachers and students to meet the teachers.
Good. Talk about a hybrid student on your campus for a minute, Marika. Will a hybrid student have the same teacher all the time, or the teachers all the time? Will that change for them throughout the year? What does that look like for kids?
So the way that the hybrid model is set up, as we've talked about, a student is on campus one day and at home the next day, or they also have the option to come to the campus every day. So every student will be assigned to their English teacher, whether it's their A day or their B day. They will still have the same teacher, and they will be able to see that teacher every other day. If they're on campus, then they will be scheduled in a learning lab, which at that time they will interact with another qualified teacher on our campus, but that teacher does not replace their English teacher, for example. If they're at home participating asynchronously, then they will also be able to engage with their teacher through an uploaded or recorded lesson or a video. So to answer the question directly, they will keep the same teacher, even if they are a hybrid. They will have one English teacher, one math teacher, and so on and so forth as their schedule reads.
So that teacher of record, if you will, that's responsible for that child will remain the same, but they could have some experiences with other teachers during the year.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Actually, that's kind of interesting. That may actually benefit some of our kids is they have some opportunities to learn from others. Good. Okay.
Right.
All right. So Julie, coming back to you specifically pre-K. So having quite a few questions about what the experience is going to look like. So could you, a day in the life of a kindergartner, maybe that's it. Could you talk a little bit about what that might look like?
We are setting up our classrooms so that they're able to be socially distanced. Now, I am an early childhood person myself, and I know that we do not have 3 through 5-year-olds through 6-year-olds that are going to be able to be sitting at a desk all day long. That's unrealistic. So there will be activities where they're able to sit on the floor, where they're able to stand up and engage in activities. They can still have recess with their teacher. It will look very different than it has looked in the past, but we do not expect any student to be sitting in their desk looking at the teacher or working on their iPad for the entire time. Now, if they choose to stay home for remote learning, what that will look like for them is the teacher, the kindergarten or the pre-K teacher will have uploaded lessons so that at your convenience as a parent, you will watch the lesson, watch a story being read, and then your student will create some kind of product that you will most likely snap a picture of and upload as their evidence. But the teacher will also be checking in either by phone call or through a Google Meet maybe, with those kids, but we don't expect them to be doing live lessons at that age on the computer.
Yeah, that's good information. So in the learning environment, or actually the virtual environment, there will be not as much synchronous because to your point, it's going to be very difficult for a kindergartner to sit in front and be completely engaged. So there'll be other types of asynchronous work at home for those virtual kids. That's pretty important. And that to your point, that's developmentally appropriate. I think I'm glad to hear you say, that you all are thinking about that. And that's important that as educators, we understand the developmental appropriateness of different types of activities for kids and then accommodate for that. So good.
Yes.
All right. Julie, I'll come back to you with this one. Is it too late to register my child for school?
No, we want you to register your children. It's never too late to register. The online link is on the ECISD webpage. You do have to have access to your parent portal Text Connect account where you check their grades. If you've forgotten your password and you need help with that, please call your school office. The women who work in the office here at Dowling all have that information, the same thing at other middle and high school. So if you need help logging in, if you do not have internet, though, and you're not able to register from home, we have the registration roadshow going on, and you can also find those times. You can call the school campus, and we can tell you where to be for help with that. If all else fails, show up at campus, and we are glad to help you register your students.
Good. Thank you. Coming to you, Gerardo, with this one. And actually, I'll probably ask you, Marika, as well. The question is about our secondary kids and will they stay in the same room all day? We've mentioned a lot about how important it is that we limit the movement of our students around campus. And I think we understand conceptually what that looks like at the elementary level, about self-contained. But at the high school, Gerardo, what will student movement look like on your campus next year?
Sure. So we're actually developing a bell schedule as in the past. We will have transitions still. Students will still move from class to class at the high school level. It's really difficult for us to move our band hog, for us to move our science lab. So for high school, it is going to look a little bit different. Just being mindful that we're going to stagger transitions throughout the day. That's a possibility for campuses as well. And then making sure that when kiddos and learners, high schoolers, they're entering through exits in the building, that will get them faster to their first class of the day. So transitions, and then making sure we have markings in the hallways as well to direct students. So there's going to be a lot of one-way pathways to make sure students are getting where they need to get quickly and quietly.
Absolutely. So really, movement at our high schools will look different next year. First of all, you have fewer kids on campus because of that, the hybrid experience. Marika, what about you? What will middle school movement and transitions look like on your campus?
So we also have designed a staggered bell schedule, which would allow only one grade level to move in the halls at a time. So sixth grade will move, seventh grade will move, eighth grade will move, all separated from each other. We've also designed our transition so that each grade level will only use one set of stairs. So sixth grade will have their designated set of stairs, and so on and so forth. Each of those grade levels will have specific entrances that they will come into. So sixth grade, only one entrance, seventh grade, eighth grade. And we will really try to have parents drop off at close to those spots. So the movement is very limited as they enter the building. In addition to the movement that we have, we've designed our bell schedule where our sixth grade and seventh grade classes, math and English, have double block classes. So they will stay in there a little longer, again, reducing the number of times that they transition and move about the building. So we definitely believe that those are some of the things that we put in place to help with that transition and safety.
Good. Stay with safety, Marika, just for a minute. One of the questions is about really the screening process that a kid, we've said this quite a few times, that before a child comes to school, really the child and the parent needs to screen themselves. So what does that mean? And then once they get on your campus, what might we have in place to keep them extra sanitized, if you will?
Right, absolutely. So before a student comes to the campus, we really want the families to make sure that they've taken into consideration if a student or themselves have been exposed to anyone, and report that to the campus as soon as possible. And so, but once a student has made it to our campus, before they even enter into the building, we have our sanitizing stations set up at each entry point where students will have hand sanitizer. We will check for masks. We already talked about if a student doesn't have a mask, we'll have plenty of masks to distribute to our students. And as the students enter and exit the classrooms, there will be sanitizing stations in every single classroom, as well as disinfectant spray in those classrooms. And so we are going to make sure that students are using those as they go to and from classes, as they enter and exit the building, and all throughout the building as well.
Good. Julie, back to you. Let's go with, we're still having quite a few questions about registration. And so if a parent has a child today and they want to register, what are their options? How do they do that? Where do they go?
So go to the ECISD webpage. There's a link there that gives you all the information you will need. You do, like I said before, you need the parent portal ID number. If you do not have that, please call your school office. They're happy to give that to you. You will have to upload proof of address and your driver's license, shot records for new students, and I believe maybe seventh graders as well. And that's where you go to register. If you don't have internet access, you can go to the registration roadshow. I do know they have been so overwhelmed that some of our ECISD employees were working till 11 or 11:30 trying to help families. So they are going to limit the number of people that can be at each one of those registration roadshows. But we really need you to register. Doing it online is the fastest and the easiest way for you. And I've had a lot of questions about, well, I didn't get my survey. Where do I find the survey? The survey is emailed to the email you provided when you registered your student. So check your email, make sure we have your updated email, and all year long it's going to be very important that we have a correct phone number and email as things change, as we have to modify things so that we're able to get a hold of parents.
And Dr. Murray, if I may,
sure.
I also wanted to add about registration, that we have, our technology team has prepared an elaborate spot on our website, our back to school link. And so if a parent is thinking that they might not have gotten a survey or they didn't get an email, just go to our website. You can go right on the left-hand side, a little bit below the top, and click back to school, and you will be able to register your student right on our website, even if you didn't get an email.
Good. Great point. You can go to the ECISD website. Any family can do that and click on the back to school and register for your child. And again, to Julie's point, if you do not have access to a computer technology, the registration roadshow or just go to your child's school. You know, we're open every day from 8 to 5, and we have 42 schools in ECISD, and so you're welcome to visit your child's school and register if you don't have access to the tools of technology. We'll make it easy for you. Lots of ways to register for your kid, but you've got to register so that we can expect you and prepare for you. That's pretty important for us. All righty. Gerardo, I think I'm coming back to you with this one. And this one's about the extracurriculars. And, you know, so will kids next year, if a child chooses virtual 100% of the time, and they're a high school student, will they still get to participate in extracurriculars and things like that? Clubs, organizations, band, athletics?
Yes, sir. We definitely want that still to be an opportunity. We value our UIL extracurricular activities. So if you decide as a family for your high school student to do virtual, those opportunities will be available for you still before and after school.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. So whether you choose hybrid, face-to-face, or completely remote, you will have extracurricular opportunities to engage. That's good. So no child will be left out of those opportunities.
Okay.
All righty. Let's do this one. Stay with you, Gerardo. And this is a lunch scenario. We've talked a little bit about this. We're providing breakfast and lunch free of charge for all kids next year. Do they still have to fill out the form?
Right, good question. We all love to talk about lunch, right? It's an important time of the day for all of us. Actually, there's not the traditional free and reduced application for you to qualify. That is free breakfast, free lunch for all ECISD students, which is an awesome opportunity. There are going to be some different processes in place because at the high school level, if students qualify for the traditional free and reduced lunch status, they're able to get reduced fees. It's a great identifier for students who need extra assistance when it comes to applying for colleges and so forth. So I would say look out for processes still. It's not required for them to get free and reduced, to get free breakfast or lunch, but it is a possible indicator for students that need that additional support outside of school.
So really, a question for all three of you, and I'm going to probably start with you, Gerardo, as an answer, but then we'll go to Marika and then Julie. As we're listening to what people are asking tonight in their questions, that there's still a lot of questions about what a typical day is going to look like. And so I want to remind everybody that we're preparing more day in the life of scenarios, and you will see those popping up over the next several days on the ECISD website. So I encourage every parent to visit the website and access those day in the life of documents, the DILOs, if you will, and then use those to help you understand what your child's experience is going to be like. So let's talk about that a little bit. High school, middle school, and elementary. Gerardo first. Let's talk about a kid who is going to be there. I've chosen A day, B day, the hybrid model. Tell me about my A day and then tell me about my B day. Just kind of run through them pretty quickly if you can.
Definitely. So you're going to rely on a calendar provided by the district, and that will tell us what specific days are A days, what specific days are B days. For the most part, throughout the year, they'll alternate, but there are some instances where some of the weeks will look the same back to back. So I would say really rely on that calendar. And if you're hybrid, know exactly what days you come on campus, or even virtual, your synchronized days. So I would say the first step would be definitely following that calendar, and then showing up to school, following CDC protocols on your designated day if you're hybrid students. We are providing schedules for our students. Right now, principals, counselors, we're on a time crunch because of the adjustments we're having to make to schedules, and things are changing, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a big body of work. So I'll start off there with the calendar.
All right. What about my B day in that
So
environment?
for the middle school,
Let me
it'll be
extend
a little bit different. So a student does have an opportunity to come to the school 5 days a week, even if they have chosen hybrid. So if it is an A day for a student, they will arrive on campus, have breakfast, and change classes and go to their 9 classes that they have throughout the day. And then we will do the staggered dismissal, just as Julie explained, where we will have very specific students leaving when it's time for them to leave. If a student has chosen hybrid, and they choose to come to school on their B day, this is their asynchronous day, students will be assigned to a learning lab in which they will still either get a lesson uploaded, and it is the same lesson that the students that are getting face-to-face uploaded where the teacher has recorded that, or they will also be able to participate in some of our highly engaging digital platforms that the district has purchased, where the students will be finishing up lessons that they might have started the day before, and then they will alternate and pick up where they left off. Our goal is to make sure that there's some continuity with the flow of the lessons from day to day. If a student chooses to stay home on their B day, their asynchronous learning day, again, they will still have an opportunity to engage in an uploaded video, as well as some of the same things. So those students that are B day on campus and B day at home will have the exact same experience. In addition to that, even if they're at home or at school, they will still be following their schedule. And then for our remote students, I've seen a couple of questions asked, does a remote student have an assigned teacher? Yes, we have teachers that will be designed and designated to teach our students that have been chosen to engage academically and extracurricularly 100% remote.
Good, good, good. And Julie, an elementary experience, that hybrid.
So for third, fourth, and fifth graders that choose the hybrid model, same thing. They can either come to school every single day, and then every other day they would be in their homeroom classroom with their teacher. The opposite day they would be in what Marika referred to as a learning lab, which in an elementary setting is most likely going to be the cafeteria, the gym, common areas, a computer lab, where they will be monitored by an aide or a teacher, and they will be doing their asynchronous work. So they may be watching a video, responding to it. They may be doing even some project work or writing a paper that they learned about the day before in their classroom. So they won't necessarily be in their homeroom classroom, but they will be supervised. The other option is that they stay home on their asynchronous day and do their work from home. I've also had a lot of questions about, well, how will they be counted for attendance if we choose to stay home? They have to engage every single day, either by turning in an assignment. For our pre-K through 2 kids, it will be contacting with the teacher, logging into their Seesaw app to turn in. So we will be interacting with our kids, whether they're at home or at school.
Good. I think that's important. Kids pre-K through high school will continue to be engaged, whether it's hybrid, face-to-face, or remote. Engagement is critical to the learning of our kids. So, and all three of you responded to that beautifully. So thank you. We will continue to develop and post those.
I'll add that one of the questions that I saw on that came up was about the start and end time for middle school. Middle school does start at 8:30 and end at 4:15. And as Julie shared with us earlier, we will have that staggered dismissal. And so although the day ends at 4:15, there may be some opportunities for students to continue to learn and possibly participate in tutorials as we're waiting for their dismissal to take place.
Yeah, and the
every
reason
student will come, and when they arrive at 8:30, they still will have time to get their full breakfast and their full first period before they transition to the next class. So
and the reason for all of this is because of COVID-19. None of us are creating the ideal scenario for any of our children. The staggered release that you talked about, Marika, happens because we've got to keep our kids separated from each other and then from adults. The environment, Julie, that you talked about in that hybrid in which some kids are not with their teacher while other kids are, it's because we cannot put that many kids.
I was trying to see if there's any more questions.
So that's
did y'all see?
So, all right. A couple more I want to hit. Just there were kind of small questions just to address about 504. A question about if my child has a 504, will they be able to participate on August 12th?
One of the ones that I saw pop up again was.
So if your child has a 504 plan and they're a part of those special services, pay attention to phase 1. That will be important. So that's pretty critical. we may be making some adjustments to the students that are engaged in phase one as we continue to monitor the health. But yes, 504 students would be a part of the special services that are mentioned in phase one of the return. Will magnet schools have the extra magnet hour? At this point, they will not have the extra magnet hour. So magnet principals will share that with families, but magnets, as we begin the year, will not have that additional hour. Again, because of COVID-19, that could change during the year, but we will not have that hour in the beginning of the school year. And a reminder as well, for families that have not filled out the survey, just a reminder that every family must fill out a survey and make a choice as to what you want for your children. And that is currently posted on the ECISD website. The date for that closes on Sunday night, so it's important that all of you fill out that information. We've got to have a decision for every single child, and our principals are using that information to guide and inform their decision-making process. So that's pretty critical.
I can't hear anything.
All right. All righty. I think we've answered a lot of questions tonight. I want to go back to our principals one more time and just ask for final words. Principals, as we've listened to our families tonight, they still have a lot of questions and are trying to piece this together and truly make the best decision in the interest of their own individual child. So as principals, would there be any guidance that you would offer for our families as they wrestle with making these really tough choices for their kids? We'll start with you, Gerardo.
Sure. I would say, as a family, it's great to have those conversations together. Before you submit that survey, really take into account all of the information that ECISD has released. Use that back to school tab, really read through all the information. There's a lot of systems, there's a lot of protocols in place. If your child for elementary, middle school are attending 5 days a week, or if your child for high school is doing hybrid or virtual, look at all those policies. All the protocols are in place. There's been extensive work that has gone into that to ensure that students are safe. So really do what's best for your family. It's great that the state gave us that flexibility for students to still be able to learn from home, offer the 5 days a week for those particular grade levels, and then also those hybrid options. So I would say no judgment, do what's best for your family, have those conversations, and when in doubt, and if you have questions, call your campus, ask them those specific questions.
Good guidance. Julie, final words.
Same sentiment. We are going to do what's best for your child. We're going to support your decisions. A lot of things in the chat about making sure that families are on the same A-B schedule. We will 100% do that. It may not happen the first day. If it doesn't, you need to reach out to us. Reach out to us with your concerns, with your questions. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you do what's best for your kids.
Yeah, and that's a great conclusion, Julie. We are here to serve the 34,000 kids and families in ECISD, and your feedback, your continued input helps inform the decisions that we make. Our goal is to make, that first day, Wednesday, August 12th, exciting for our kids. And the 13th should be better. The 14th will be even better. But it's important that you provide that regular feedback so that we can continue to pay attention to your needs and adjust and adapt as we go. Gerardo mentioned the words at the beginning: flexibility and agility are two characteristics that we've taken on as an organization because we've got to continue to adapt. I think Marika was dealing with some technical difficulties. Yeah, we can't hear you, Marika. So we may have to. We'll just wave at you. I'm afraid that's going to be where we are right now. But in closing tonight, I want to say thank you to three amazing principals that are doing some pretty incredible work on their campuses. I want to say really thank you to their colleagues as well. We have a host of elementary, middle school, and high school administrators that are doing significant work to prepare for your children on the first day. Our teachers, our counselors, our nurses, our bus drivers, our maintenance crew, our custodians, our central office folks, our secretaries, a lot of folks are really busy at work right now preparing for what promises to be an exciting opportunity for every child in ECISD as we begin on August 12th. final reminder that to continue to expect adjustments and changes in the coming days and weeks. In fact, even this week on Tuesday, we had a pretty significant change that was given to us by the Texas Education Agency, and we'll continue to expect more adjustments. So we ask that you as families continue to be flexible and adapt and adjust with us as we travel down this new and exciting pathway together, and we will do this together. Scott Muri, Superintendent ECISD, thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you, principals. It was a pleasure to have you, and we wish each of you a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.